Christmas Day and I'm being beaten. Yeah, that's what you get, you little bastard. Right, ladies? Yeah. As the people from the orphanage beat me, I lie still on the ground in my own pool of blood. I can't do anything. I'm quirkless. This is one of the reasons they're beating me. 'Cause they know I'm too weak to defend myself. All of the other kids, well, all of the other girls have it nice. They get nice, fancy rooms, like they're royalty or something. While I'm stuck in the attic with mice and roaches. I guess it wouldn't be a bad time to die. It's not like Santa was gonna bring me anything in the first place. Haven't gotten a gift my entire life. Guess I'll die now. As Deku lays on the ground, bleeding out. The women that are beating him, they would cheer for his death. Nobody there ever loved Deku. He was useless, a pain. Nobody really even cared if he died or not. So, he didn't have the strength to go on. He didn't have the right motivation to go on, which made him lay there in pain and agony, not saying or doing anything, just waiting for death to hit him. But just as Deku was accepting his death, something happened. Something weird happened. A pentagram on the side of him. It was made of blood. It opened what seemed to be a portal. And a bunch of demons came out. And they all went inside of Deku. And he could feel his body changing and morphing into something. But it was happening slowly, as if he was becoming a monster. He didn't know what to do, but he screamed out in pain as he laid on the ground. What is this? My body. What's going on with the brat? Is this his quirk? As everybody's confused, Deku would pass out due to all of the pain, and the women, that were beating him honestly didn't care what was happening. They just continued to beat him until that they saw that Deku's head was busted wide open. They were scared they killed him, so they rushed him to the infirmary and said that he fell down the stairs. And being the foolish people they are, they believed it. And so Deku was treated, but he'd be in a coma for 4 months. By the way, Deku's only 4 years old. How could they do this to him? How could they beat a 4-year-old? This is what witness would say. They actually cared for Deku. They were more like his sister. What shall I name her? I'll let you guys decide that. But 4 months have passed and Deku's mind has been changed by a man with white hair, dressed in a kimono. He would be looking at Deku and he'd say, "You will be the one to bear my will. You will be my successor." As Deku would say, "What are you talking about? I don't have that quirk thingy. I can't be strong. The women already told me that. Everybody at the orphanage, they all said I couldn't be strong. So what makes you think I can be strong? What makes you think that I'm different from what they say I am?" As the man would look at him, and he would say, "You're the reincarnation of a great demon. You're the reincarnation of me, Sesshomaru." Deku would say, "Sesshomaru? What are you talking about?" "I'm a demon. As I said before, kid. All of those demons that rushed into you, I was one of them. But I didn't choose to be here. It sucked me in. And so basically, you're the reincarnation of all the demons that went inside of you. But that doesn't matter. What does matter is the fact that I have to train you. But you'll be waking up now." His Deku would be thrusted back into reality. He would look around him to see that nobody was there. There was only a change of clothing and a note from the doctor. The note said that the doctor would be back soon to check on him and just push the emergency button if he had any problems when he woke up. Deku would think this was weird because how could they have known that he would wake up from the coma? Deku just thought it was some type of weird quirk. And so he got up from his bed, put on the clothes, and he walked out of the room, ignoring the emergency button the doctor told him to push. When Deku looked down the hallway, he would see the ladies from the orphanage. They would be coming to visit him. But when they were checking in, Deku could see a glimpse of a knife in one of the ladies' hands. It looked like they were trying to hide it. In the panic, Deku ran away as fast as he could, going through the emergency exit. And well, he would run and run and run until he eventually entered the forest, a dark place, a cave. As Deku would trip and fall, as they do in the white people horror movies. And he would lay there for a second in agony and pain, seeing that he didn't have on any shoes and, well, he's a 4-year-old who just tripped and fell. Nobody's there to help him. And Deku, realizing that, would get up And he would think to himself, I'm on my own now. I'll have to protect myself from any and everything. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Alright, guys, I'm back. But as Deku thinks to himself, I have to protect myself from any and everything. Just as he was thinking that, something said, You're not alone, kid. You have me, remember? As Deku would say, Who's there? As the voice would say, It's me, sesshomaru. I'm in your head. And Deku would say, You're in my head? How'd you get there? Well, kid, I'm more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? What seems to be a parasite. Yeah, that's it. I'm more of a parasite inside of your body that can move around and do as it pleases. His Deku would be a little freaked out by this. He would say, Then is that with the rest of the demons too? As sesshomaru would say, No, not really. Just me. Might be a couple of others, but not that I know of. Oh, and by the way, I will be killing the other demons. As Deku would say, What? Why would you kill them? Because, kid, they can make you or they can break you. And I don't really want my reincarnation to be insane. Well, I mean, I guess you will be insane after the training I'm gonna put you through. Training? Wait, oh, that's right. You did say you were gonna train me. Yeah, I did. And it'll start in a few hours. So, try to get some rest in this cave that you've come to. And in a few hours, we'll begin your training. Oh, and by the way, the more things you and I kill, the stronger we'll become. You might even unlock my abilities. As Deku would say, your abilities? Yeah, my moves and abilities, basically. You'll be able to use them if you become a little bit stronger. Well, I might as well not say a little bit because you're extremely weak. You need to be a lot stronger to use my abilities. As Deku would say, okay. As Deku would find a nice warm spot inside of the cave, as he would think to himself, how did I get this far? How did this happen to me? Look at me. I'm sleeping in a cave. A 4-year-old. As Deku would cry himself to sleep, sesshomaru would see this, and he would kind of take pity on the kid. And when Deku woke up, sesshomaru would say, Get up, kid. It's time for your training. As Deku would say, Okay. As he would get up, and sesshomaru would say, For now, all you're gonna do is 500 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, and you're gonna run 3 miles. Okay. Oh, and because I know you can't count that high, I'll be counting for you. Alright, thanks. No problem, kid. Now get started. As Deku would do what sesshomaru said. Time skip. 5 hours later. Deku would be extremely tired, and he would collapse from exhaustion. As sesshomaru would say, "Good job, kid. Now, you'll be doing the same routine for 5 months. And once you've mastered this without being tired at all after doing it, you'll move on." As Deku would groan in his mindscape. 5 months later, Deku would say, "Alright, what's for today, sesshomaru?" "Same thing, kid." As Deku would do his routine, 500 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, and a 3-mile run. Deku would not be tired at all. And he would think to himself, "Is it time for us to move on, sesshomaru?" "Yeah, kid. Next step." 5 years later. Deku's green hair would be white, but it wouldn't be as long as sesshomaru's. It would only come down to about the end of his neck. And his body would be physically in shape. He would be able to punch a tree and almost break it with one punch. And his speed is, well, out of this world, to be honest with you. Deku is now 9 years old. And sesshomaru would say, "I think it's time, kid." And Deku would say, "Time for what?" "You've earned one of my abilities." "One of your abilities? What am I gonna get?" "You're gonna get my light whip, kid." "Light whip?" "Yeah. It's basically a whip made out of light. You can summon it whenever you want. But it might be a little draining to you because, well, you're 9 years old. You may need a few months to master it, but it'll be a great asset to your collection of skills." And Deku would say, "Alright." And so sesshomaru would bestow his light whip to Deku, and he would feel a burst of power throughout him, like he just leveled up or something. Oh, and by the way, if you guys can see that I'm talking kind of weird, well, just know, hold on. Damn, car. Alright. Yeah, but if I'm talking kind of weird, it's because I just woke up. But, yeah, that doesn't matter. But, yeah, so Deku would accept sesshomaru's power, and he would think to himself, "Sesshomaru has made me so strong. I guess he's like my family now." Deku would smile, and he would say, "What's next, sesshomaru?" Sesshomaru would say, "Well, now you're going to be going back to the city." "What? I'm going back there? Why would I do that?" "Because, kid, if you're ever going to become a hero or a villain, whichever one doesn't matter to me, if you're ever going to become one of those, you're going to need to go back. You're going to need to meet up with the right people. And I'm going to let you guys decide if he becomes a hero or a villain. But he's going to go to UA, so it doesn't matter." So Deku would say, alright, as Deku would gather his supplies and his makeshift sword, and he would head back to the city. Deku would have a decent amount of money, seeing that he did jobs for other people out in the country. He did jobs for people near like the local woods that he was in. And so when he went back to the city, he would kind of try to find a clothing store. And once he did, he would buy a kimono that looked like sesshomaru's. And Deku would look like this, but his hair would be a lot shorter. And, well, he wouldn't have the moon on his head yet. But otherwise, Deku would look like this. And, well, to be honest, he's gonna be OP. But, that doesn't matter. So, once Deku bought his clothing and he left the store, he would put it on. And Sesshomaru would say, "It fits you well, kid. Now, you're gonna have to enroll in school. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but you may have to go to another orphanage." As Deku would say, "What? Another orphanage? No, I can't do that, Sesshomaru. Kid, yeah, you can. Remember, you're strong now. Those women, even if you do go back to that orphanage, they wouldn't be able to do anything to you." So Deku would say, "Oh, okay." As he would call, well, he wouldn't call them. He would see a local police officer, and he would say, I've lost my orphanage. Can you help me?" As the police officer would say, "Yeah, kid, of course." As the police officer would take Deku, well, back to his orphanage, seeing that Deku remembered the address. And once he got there, the people at the orphanage would say, "Who are you, kid?" "I'm, is Deku would think to himself, "My name is Sesshomaru." "Yeah, Sesshomaru." As in Deku's mindscape, Sesshomaru would face plant, as he would be thinking to himself, "Well, guess this is for his safety. He still has a little bit of PTSD from what those women did to him. Well, that doesn't matter. As long as he can get into that school I heard of. What was the name of it? Oh yeah, UA." Back to Deku. "Your name's Sesshomaru, kid?" "Yeah. And, well, I'm alone." As the women would see Deku, and they would be like, "Alright." As they would take him in, and they would give him a nice room, to Deku's surprise. And most of the girls there would blush over him, including the one that was like his sister. But even if she was like his sister, she never really cared for him that much. But she would walk up to him and she would say, "Hi, my name's Yuki." His Deku would say, "Yuki? Yukine!" His Deku would say that, and she would be surprised. As she would say, "No, it's just Yuki." "No, your name's Yukine." As he would pull her aside and he would say, "I'm Izuku." Izuku Midoriya, as she would be utterly surprised. And she would say, "Oh, what? You're Deku?" Yeah, but you went missing 5 years ago." And Deku would say, "I know, but now I'm back. I had to go train for a little while." "Train? For what?" "Well, I'm the reincarnation of a great demon." Uh, a, a demon? What are you? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just know, I'm way stronger than I was before. That little quirkless brat doesn't exist anymore. The only one that exists is sesshomaru. Deku is long gone. Remember that." As Deku would hug Yuki and he would walk away. 3 months later, Deku's training hasn't stopped, and everybody can see that Deku is gaining more muscle and he's becoming way stronger. As they would all be, well, shocked at Deku's progress in only 3 months. And by this time, Deku's hair has started to grow longer, to their surprise as well. Deku would think to himself, I was right. These people only care about power. Well, good thing I'll be leaving soon." As Deku has already wanted, well, he's had families already try to adopt him. Deku would be thinking to himself, I think it's about that time. I'm gonna go with one of the families." As Deku would look through all of the families that have wanted to adopt him, as he would see, well, a woman named Inko, as he would say, Inko. And because Deku's name is already Izuku Midoriya, we'll say Inko is a Todoroki. Inko Todoroki. As Deku would say, "Alright, I think I'll be going with them." As Deku would put in a request to go with the Todoroki family, Inko would come to the adoption center and she would say, "Hi, my name's Inko." "Yeah, I already knew that." As Inko sweat drops, she would say, "Well, it seems as if you've put in a request for me." "Yeah, I actually wanted to be adopted by you, seeing that you were kind of the nicest one to me." And Deku would think to himself, "That's a lie. I just chose a random family." As Inko would get excited and she would say, "Well, you're probably gonna enjoy our family." As she would think to herself, "Sorry, kid. Endeavor, that bastard of a father, he's gonna need you to train. And I don't really want my own children to go through that. So I'm gonna put a stop to it by giving him you." As she would be smiling at Deku. Once Deku got in the car, he would go home with Inko, saying goodbye to Yukine and the rest of the orphanage. Yukine would be extremely sad because, well, she just lost her brother twice. But she knows that he's going to be going to a better place now. And so, once Deku got to the Todoroki household, Inko would enter, and Deku would see that this house, it had a scent of alcohol and, well, sadness. Deku couldn't understand why, because he thought that Inko was a happy person. But inside his mind, Sesshomaru will be thinking, it's a setup. Wow, this kid has really bad luck. Oh, damn it. As we go back to Deku, Deku would see that, or he would sense that somebody is being beaten or training. As he would walk into the room that he would sense this person in, and he would see a child fighting with Endeavor, the number 2 hero, he presumed. As Deku would say, in Endeavor? As everybody in that room would stop and they would look at Deku. There were about 3 children in the room. Todoroki, fucking Shoto Todoroki, Rei Todoroki, and their fucking brother. Which one though? Dobby. Dobby's there. What's that nigger's name? Hold on, y'all. Alright, guys, I'm back. But Shoto Todoroki, Rei Todoroki, and Toya Todoroki would all stop and they would look at Izuku. And Endeavor would say, so you're the Izuku brat that I heard of. As Inko would come in and she would say, well, everybody, this is your new brother, Izuku Midoriya. As they would all say, Izuku? That's your name? Yeah. Well, I guess now it's Izuku Todoroki. But it's nice to meet all of you. Well, it's nice to meet you too, Izuku, Rei Todoroki would say. As he would see that Shoto was the one that was fighting. Well, he wouldn't know it was Shoto yet, because, well, shit, they haven't introduced themselves. But he would see that it was a boy fighting Endeavor. And he would say, well, what are all of your names? As they would all introduce themselves, and Deku would say, why is Shoto fighting Endeavor? As Endeavor would speak up and say, because, kid, he's being trained. As Deku would think to himself, but he would accidentally say this out loud. I don't think it's training to be beating a kid. As Endeavor would say, what'd you say, kid? Know your place. You're weak. As Deku's eyes would flicker at these words, and they would turn red. And he would say, who's weak? Because it's definitely not me. As Sesshomaru would say, what is this? Did he unlock my demon form? As Sesshomaru would be in Deku's mind, excited to see what would happen next. As Deku would rush at Endeavor, and he would punch him in the stomach. But this wouldn't do as much damage to Endeavor as Deku would think. But Deku was okay with this because he was holding back a lot. And so Endeavor would only grunt from this little punch, and then he would kick at Deku. Deku would do a backflip, and then he would say, old man, you're weak. As Deku would rush at Endeavor again, punching him with this time 50% of his strength. And Endeavor would fly back a little bit, and he would say, good punch, kid, but you'll have to do way more than that to beat me. As Endeavor would rush at Deku, throwing a fire punch. His Deku would dodge it, but to be met with a flaming kick from this nigga Endeavor, being sent into the wall. His Deku would say, alright, I think it's time for me to stop playing around with you. light whip. A light whip would form into Deku's hand, and he would hit Endeavor with it across the face, leaving a scar. His Endeavor would say, "Ugh, damn it." His Deku would say, "I think it's about that time, Endeavor, don't you?" His Endeavor would say, "What are you talking about?" His Deku would body flicker behind him and chop him in the neck, knocking Endeavor out. After Deku did this, everybody would be in shock that he just beat the number 2 hero. And Deku would smile. "I guess those 5 years of training really paid off." His Deku would laugh nervously. As after the whole Endeavor knockout thing, they would have dinner while Endeavor was in his bed, still knocked out. They would begin to ask Deku a bunch of questions about what type of training he did and what type of things he went through. His Deku would smile and he would explain. He would say that as a child, he was beaten and nobody really ever loved him. And on Christmas Day, it went way too far. And they nearly killed him. And when he went to the hospital, he was, well, treated. But he was in a coma. And when he woke up, the same people that beat him were still trying to kill him. And so he ran away. He entered the forest and he was trained by a demon. And everybody there would say, a demon? Yeah, a demon. His Deku would smile. And he would say, "Well, that's all you guys need to know. But, well, what's going to happen next? Guess I've already beaten the number 2 hero. So what's next for me?" As Inko would say, "You're going to be going to school." School? What is that? "It's a place where you're going to be learning." As Deku would say, "Oh, well, okay." As we time skip 2 days, Deku would say, what's wrong with me? My head, it hurts so bad." As they would have had a party the night, well, before Deku's first day of school. As Deku would get up and wash his face and take a shower. As when he got out, he would see that Inko was in his room, and she would say, "Oh, you're up. Well, today's your first day of school." As Deku would say, "Alright." As they would get Deku dressed in his regular kimono, and he would leave along with Shoto because, well, they're in the same grade after all. As once they got to the school, Deku would walk in along with Shoto, and Shoto would say, "Good luck." So Deku would say, "I don't need it." As Deku would walk to the teacher and say, "Hi, I'm the new student, Izuku Todoroki." As the teacher would say, Oh, class, we have a new student. His name is..." As he would look at Deku, and Deku would say, "Izuku Todoroki. Nice to meet you all. Oh, and by the way, I'm quirkless." As everybody there would laugh, except for Shoto, and one main person would step up, being Bakugo. As Bakugo would say, "What's a quirkless loser like you doing in our class?" As Deku would ignore him, and this would piss off Bakugo, as he would rush Deku, but Izuku would sidestep him, sending Bakugo into a wall, and this would only piss off Bakugo even more. But when Bakugo turned around, he would see Todoroki was looking at him. And he would say, "If you hurt my brother, I'll freeze you for an eternity." This would kind of send a shiver down Bakugo's spine. And Bakugo would say, "Oh, whatever," as he would go sit down. Once the day was over, Bakugo would be thinking to himself, "We're gonna beat the hell out of that kid, and we're gonna teach that damn Todoroki a lesson." As Deku would walk and leave the school, and once he left, he would be cornered by Bakugo and his goons. As Deku would say, "I'm not really in the mood for this today, so could you guys leave me alone, please?" As Bakugo would laugh and say, "No, we're gonna teach you a lesson, a painful lesson." As a bunch of explosions would start to form in his hand, he would then go on to rush Deku, grabbing his hand and blowing it up. As Deku would say, "Bro, I said I didn't want to be bothered today." As Deku would look at his hand as it was already rapidly healing, as all of them would be in shock, but Deku wouldn't give them time to settle down. He would rush them, and in a swift motion, he would instantaneously knock all of them out except for Bakugo. He would walk over to Bakugo, look him square in the face, grab his hand, and he would break it. And then he'd kick Bakugo into a wall. And he'd say, "I told you I wasn't in the mood for this. Yet you bothered me anyway. Guess it's your fault." As Todoroki would be witnessing this, as he would say, "Well, Bakugo deserved it." As Deku and Todoroki would go home. Time skip. 2 years. Deku and Todoroki have entered middle school, and they're at the top of their classes. Hold on, guys. Sorry, guys, I'm back. But as I was saying, Deku and Todoroki are at the top of their classes, and well, they have a fan group, to be honest, and a bunch of obsessed, stalking girls, much to the disliking of Todoroki and Izuku. But this would also piss off Bakugo, seeing that he would be pissed off that a quirkless nobody was better than him. And this would also enrage a certain somebody in their classroom that I'm not gonna, introduce in this part, but they'll be introduced soon in a later part. But these two would be pissed off, and so they would kind of form an alliance. And this alliance would be to bring down Deku and Todoroki, seeing in any way possible. As once Deku and Todoroki would leave the school, Izuku would be talking to him about their training that they were going to do for today. As Todoroki would say, "Well, I think we're going to have another sparring session with Father, and after that, I think we're going to have to do a 3-mile run or so. But after that, I think that's all we have to do." As Deku would nod his head and be like, "Well, I'll get this over with as fast as I can. I really hate fighting that man, as weak as he is." As Todoroki would laugh, and he'd say, "I don't think it's that he's weak. You're just way stronger than him." As Deku and Todoroki would laugh. And once they're walking home, they would walk under a bridge. As this would not be the sludge villain attack. this would be a gang attack, as Bakugo would have at least 100 people with him, and they would all try to fight Deku and Todoroki, rushing them with their quirks and weapons. Is Deku and Todoroki would try to fight them off, but Todoroki would be cut straight down his chest, and this would enrage Deku, and his eyes would turn red, and his body would start to transform, as Deku would become a great demon wolf, as he would look at all of them, and he would say, "Die," as Deku would rush all of them on all fours, and he would run through all of them using his tails and his teeth and claws to kill all of them, except for Bakugo. He had plans for Bakugo. He wanted Bakugo dead in a special way. So after Deku killed all of Bakugo's goons in a gruesome manner, he would look over at Bakugo and he'd say, "I have something special for you that I've been waiting to try out." The sesshomaru would say, "Is he gonna use that thing? It's weird to explain, but I can't believe he invented it." As Deku would turn back into a human, he would say, "Poison Claw." As Deku's claws would extend, and then he'd say, "Light Web Fusion." As Deku's hand would become a glowing yellow light, but you can see a green radiation starting to come off it, and Deku would rush at Bakugo, sticking his hand through Bakugo's shoulder, saying, "Ultimate Fusion Technique, Poison Light," as Bakugo would drop to his knees, and Deku would yank his hand out of his shoulder and kick him in the side of his face. And then he would say, "Come on, let's go home, Shadow." As Shadow would be holding his shoulder, saying, "Alright," as they would walk home. A day later, the police would show up at the Todoroki residence, as they would be trying to question what happened. And they would see Todoroki and Izuku as the main suspects. And so when they questioned them, Deku would say that Bakugo brought along hundreds of people, and he just used his quirk to kill them all, because they almost killed his brother. His Shoto would show that he has a huge gash down his chest. The police would understand this, and they would say, "Oh, well, I'm sorry for the inconvenience." But Bakugo did live. And Deku would say, "Wait, what?" Well, he'd think this because he didn't want to put any suspicion on himself to be like a murderer or a mass murderer. Well, he already is, but it would be self-defense in this case. But he would say, well, think to himself, how is Bakugo still alive? That technique should have murdered him. As Sesshomaru in Deku's mind would be thinking, he hit him in the shoulder. If he would have aimed for his chest, Bakugo would be dead. But I guess he'll learn that eventually. Deku would be confused on how Bakugo wasn't dead. As Todoroki would smile at Deku and he'd say, "Thank you for protecting me." As Deku would say, "No problem. Now, we need to be worried about this training that Father's going to put us through." As we time skip a day, as Deku would go to school along with Shoto, as they would be tired from the day before, seeing that as punishment for what they did. Endeavor put them through a hellish training, and Deku and Shoto wasn't sure that they could survive that training. It was so hard, it was astounding. They had to carry 200 pounds of weight up mountains and then run down them with boulders chasing them. And Deku would say, "How could that man do that to us? He's the devil." And Shoto would laugh and he'd say, "Well, I guess we deserved it after all the pain we caused." After Deku and Shoto would laugh at this, and they would say, "Well, we're here. Let's get this day over with." As they would go to school, and this is where I'm going to be ending it off, seeing that I am still tired even though I woke up. But this is only a filler what if. The next what if I put out is probably going to be way better than this one because I'm drowsy and I can barely think straight. But bye.